The sound of morning traffic echoed through the city of Archon, a sprawling metropolis bustling with life. It was just another Monday, with people rushing to work, coffee shops overflowing, and the familiar cacophony of car horns filling the air. Above, the sun painted the sky in strokes of amber and rose, heralding what seemed like an ordinary day. Yet fate had other plans. Inside a cramped, cluttered apartment overlooking Archon's skyline, Wyatt Carter groggily wrestled with the snooze button on his ancient alarm clock. Wyatt, a 28-year-old freelance coder and avid conspiracy theorist, had perfected the art of surviving on coffee, sarcasm, and Wi-Fi. His hair was perpetually disheveled, and his wardrobe appeared to consist entirely of graphic tees emblazoned with slogans like, "I code, therefore I am." Wyatt was midway through brewing his first cup of coffee when the ground beneath his feet rumbled. It wasn't an earthquake. Archon never got earthquakes. The rumble grew louder, accompanied by a low, resonant hum that made Wyatt's teeth vibrate. He stumbled to his window, coffee forgotten, and peered out at the street below. Cars had come to a standstill, drivers craning their necks upward. Following their gaze, Wyatt looked to the sky and froze. There, hovering above the city, was a massive, sleek, metallic craft. Its surface shimmered with an iridescent glow, reflecting the morning sun like a giant opal. The ship was shaped like a flattened sphere, its edges pulsating with a faint blue light. Around it, smaller crafts zipped through the air like a swarm of mechanical bees. Wyatt grabbed his phone and started live streaming. "Holy crap! Are you seeing this?" he stammered. His audience, a modest following of fellow conspiracy enthusiasts, exploded in the chat. At that moment, the hum intensified, and a beam of light shot down from the mothership, striking the middle of downtown Archon. Wyatt's apartment trembled as the light dissipated, leaving behind something. "What in the name of?" Wyatt muttered, squinting at the scene. The object that had materialized was enormous, easily the size of a football stadium. Its surface writhed as though alive, shifting between liquid and solid forms. Suddenly, the object split open, revealing a swarm of figures. They were humanoid but far from human. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies gleamed like polished obsidian, and their eyes glowed in eerie green. Each carried a weapon that seemed to hum with energy. Wyatt wasn't alone in his discovery. Elsewhere in Archon, other lives were about to intertwine in unexpected ways. At a nearby diner, Riley Park, a feisty 32-year-old paramedic with a penchant for bad jokes, was halfway through a stack of blueberry pancakes when the power flickered. She glanced out the window and dropped her fork. "Well, that's not something you see every day," she said, staring at the alien ship. Behind the counter, the diner's owner, a grizzled ex-Marine named Hank Fisher, grunted. "Knew this day would come. Damn government always covering things up." Hank's gruff demeanor masked a sharp mind and a heart of gold. "Sure, Hank. You called it," Riley said, grabbing her medical bag. "Guess I'll need this." Meanwhile, across town, Dr. Alara Voss, a 35-year-old astrophysicist, was furiously scribbling notes in her lab. Alara had been warning anyone who would listen about strange signals coming from deep space. Now, as she watched the alien craft from her lab's rooftop, her fears were confirmed. "They're here," she whispered, her voice equal parts awe and dread. The first encounter. Back at Wyatt's apartment, panic was spreading. The aliens descended into the streets, their weapons firing beams that disintegrated anything they touched, cars, lampposts, even chunks of buildings. The chaos was unlike anything Wyatt had ever seen. Before he could process what was happening, his front door burst open. A figure in tactical gear stormed in, weapon drawn. "Freeze!" the intruder barked. Wyatt yelped, nearly dropping his phone. "What the hell, man? Who are you?" "Sergeant Marcus Kane, Archon National Guard," the soldier replied, lowering his weapon slightly. "We're evacuating civilians. You're coming with me." Wyatt hesitated, glancing at the live stream chat still blowing up on his phone. Yeah, sure. Just let me." A deafening roar interrupted him. Outside, one of the smaller alien crafts fired a beam that obliterated a nearby building. The shockwave shattered Wyatt's window, sending him and Marcus diving for cover. "Okay, maybe leaving isn't such a bad idea," Wyatt muttered. Marcus led Wyatt down the fire escape, dodging debris and alien patrols. On the street, they joined a growing crowd of survivors, including Riley, who had commandeered an ambulance to transport injured civilians. "Nice of you to join the party," Riley quipped as Wyatt climbed into the back. "Yeah, I'll bring snacks next time," Wyatt shot back, though his voice trembled. As the group sped away, Alara's lab came into view. She had rigged a series of telescopes and sensors to track the alien mothership, and her findings were grim. "They're not just here for a friendly visit," Alara explained to the group as they gathered in her lab. "That object they deployed? It's some kind of terraforming device. If they activate it, the entire planet could be wiped out, or worse, transformed into something uninhabitable for humans." "So what do we do?" Riley asked, her usual bravado replaced by genuine concern. Alara hesitated, then gestured to her equipment. "I've been studying their signals. If we can find a way to disrupt their communication network, we might be able to buy ourselves some time." "And how exactly do we do that?" Marcus asked. Wyatt cleared his throat. "I might have an idea. But you're not gonna like it." Wyatt explained his theory. If they could hack into the alien network, they might be able to send a signal to confuse their forces or disable their equipment. "That's insane," Marcus said flatly. "Yeah, but so is getting vaporized," Wyatt retorted. Alara nodded. "It's risky, but it could work. Their technology is far beyond ours, but if we can interface with their systems, we might have a shot." "Great," Riley said. "How do we get close enough to try this without, dying?" Wyatt grinned nervously. "Well, that's the tricky part." As the group debated their next move, the alien attacks intensified. The city's defenses crumbled, and survivors were forced to flee underground. News reports painted a bleak picture. The invasion was global, with similar terraforming devices deployed in major cities worldwide. Despite the odds, Wyatt, Alara, Riley, and Marcus formed an unlikely alliance. They knew they were outnumbered and outgunned, but they also knew that humanity's survival depended on their success. As night fell over Archon, the group gathered their supplies and steeled themselves for the mission ahead. Wyatt's final words before they set out summed up the gravity of their situation. "No pressure, but if we screw this up, we're all toast." The others nodded, their expressions grim. Together, they ventured into the alien-controlled city, determined to do the impossible. The alien mothership loomed over Archon, its ominous presence casting a shadow that stretched for miles. The terraforming device, pulsating with an otherworldly energy, now dominated the city's center. Its tendrils of shimmering light slithered out like serpents, wrapping around nearby buildings and pulling them apart molecule by molecule. The air itself seemed to hum with alien energy, suffused with the unmistakable tension of impending doom. Wyatt, Alara, Riley, and Marcus crouched in the ruins of an abandoned subway station, poring over a crude map Wyatt had sketched on the back of a pizza box. It was far from precise, but it offered a semblance of a plan, or at least the illusion of one. "All right," Wyatt began, gesturing with a half-eaten protein bar. "This is us. And this?" He stabbed a finger at a doodle of what looked like a giant squid. "Is them. Our target is the central spire of the terraforming device. If Alara can hook her gadgets into their system, we might be able to disrupt the entire network." Marcus folded his arms, his expression as stony as ever. "You're assuming they won't fry us on sight." Wyatt shrugged. "Yeah, well, optimism's not my strong suit." "Good to know you're consistent," Riley quipped, tightening the straps of her med bag. "But seriously, how are we supposed to get through an army of 8-foot-tall space terminators?" "We won't have to fight all of them," Alara said, her voice calm but determined. She spread a tangle of wires and devices on the floor. "This is a pulse emitter I've rigged. It won't disable their weapons entirely, but it might cause interference long enough for us to move. We'll also need to draw their attention away from the spire while I work." Classic bait and switch, Riley muttered. Great. Who's the bait? Everyone looked at Wyatt. Why is it always me? He groaned. Because you're the loudest, Marcus said, a rare flicker of humor crossing his face. The team emerged onto the streets under cover of darkness, the ruined cityscape bathed in the flickering light of fires and alien beams. Wyatt led the way, muttering complaints as he lugged a makeshift decoy rig, a bundle of wires, blinking LEDs, and a car battery strapped to his chest. You know, he grumbled, this feels like the opposite of blending in. That's the point, Elara whispered. If you blend in, you're not a distraction. Gee, thanks. Their path took them through what had once been Archon's bustling financial district. Now, the skyscrapers were skeletal husks, their windows blown out, and their steel frames twisted like paper. The air was thick with smoke, dust, and the acrid stench of ozone. The only sounds were the distant hum of alien machinery and the occasional crackle of collapsing structures. The first patrol appeared without warning, emerging from the rubble like shadows made flesh. Wyatt froze, his heart hammering in his chest. The aliens moved with eerie grace, their glowing eyes scanning the ruins for any sign of life. Riley grabbed Wyatt's arm and yanked him into an alley just as one of the creatures turned its head in their direction. You're terrible at being bait, she hissed. I'm new at this, okay. Marcus took point, signaling for silence. He motioned toward a nearby overpass, its crumbling supports offering a precarious route around the patrol. The group moved carefully, their steps muffled by ash and debris. At the base of the overpass, Elara paused to activate the pulse emitter, its faint blue glow barely visible in the darkness. Once I switch this on, they'll know we're here, she said. We'll only have a few minutes before they adapt. Minutes are better than nothing, Marcus said, gripping his rifle. Do it. Elara flipped the switch. The emitter hummed to life, sending out a ripple of energy that distorted the air around it. Almost immediately, the patrolling aliens reacted. Their movements became jerky, their glowing eyes flickering like faulty light bulbs. But as Elara had warned, it wasn't enough to stop them. They turned toward the source of the interference and began moving in their direction. Time to move! Marcus barked. Wyatt bolted down the street, the decoy rig blinking like a Christmas tree. Hey, over here! He shouted, waving his arms wildly. Come and get me, you oversized glow sticks! The aliens responded with alarming speed, their long strides devouring the distance between them. Wyatt's breath came in ragged gasps as he darted through the rubble, narrowly avoiding a beam that turned a nearby car into molten slag. Meanwhile, Marcus and Riley provided cover, picking off the stragglers with carefully aimed shots. The alien armor was tough, but not impenetrable. A direct hit to their glowing eyes seemed to do the trick. Elara, carrying a backpack filled with equipment, slipped through the chaos toward the base of the terraforming spire. The structure was even more imposing up close, its surface a maze of alien glyphs that pulsed with rhythmic light. Tendrils of energy writhed around it, casting eerie shadows on the surrounding ruins. Elara, you in position? Marcus's voice crackled over the comms. Almost, she replied, her hands trembling as she connected a series of cables to the spire. Keep them distracted. Working on it, Riley said, gritting her teeth as she bandaged a graze on Marcus's arm. You know, this was not how I planned to spend my Monday. Really? This is pretty much my usual, Wyatt quipped over the comms, his voice strained as he ran. Just as Elara began uploading her interference signal, the aliens adapted. The pulse emitter flickered and died, leaving the team exposed. The patrols stopped stumbling and resumed their relentless pursuit, now converging on both Wyatt and the spire. We've got a problem, Elara said, her voice tight with fear. They're learning faster than I expected. Tell me something I don't know, Wyatt shouted, diving behind a pile of rubble as another beam scorched the ground behind him. Riley grabbed a discarded piece of rebar and charged at an advancing alien, jamming it into its glowing eye. The creature let out a piercing shriek before collapsing in a heap. We can't hold them off forever, she yelled. Marcus's rifle clicked empty. Swearing under his breath, he switched to his sidearm. "Alara, how much longer?" "Just a few more seconds," she called back, her fingers flying over the controls. The alien glyphs began to shimmer erratically, a sign that her signal was starting to take effect. "Almost there." Suddenly, the ground shook as a massive alien walker, a four-legged, tank-like machine, emerged from the smoke. Its turret swiveled toward Wyatt, who was still clutching the decoy rig. Guys?" Wyatt said, his voice rising an octave. "We've got a new problem." The walker fired, its energy blast obliterating the rubble Wyatt had been hiding behind. He rolled to the side just in time, the heat of the blast singeing his hair. "That's it, I'm retiring," Wyatt muttered, scrambling to his feet. Marcus grabbed a grenade from his belt and hurled it at the walker. The explosion rocked the machine but didn't stop it. "Alara, now would be a good time." "Got it!" Alara shouted. She hit the final key, and the spire let out a deafening hum. The energy tendrils recoiled, the glyphs dimming as the interference signals spread through the alien network. The effect was immediate. The patrols faltered, their movements becoming erratic once more. The walker staggered, its turret drooping like a broken toy. "Yes!" Wyatt cheered. "We did it!" But their celebration was short-lived. From the mothership above, a new beam of light descended, enveloping the spire. The glyphs flared back to life, stronger than before. The terraforming device roared, its energy tendrils lashing out with renewed fury. Alara?" Riley said, backing away from the spire. "What's happening?" Alara's face was pale. "They're overriding my signal. We need to get out of here, now!" The team retreated as the spire unleashed a surge of energy that tore through the ruins, obliterating everything in its path. Behind them, the mothership loomed larger than ever, its presence a grim reminder of the escalating stakes. As they regrouped in the relative safety of the subway tunnels, Wyatt slumped against the wall, his chest heaving. "So, Plan B?" Alara looked at the others, her jaw set. "We'll need more than interference. If we're going to stop them, we'll have to take out the mothership itself." The group fell silent, the weight of her words sinking in. "Great," Wyatt said finally. "No pressure." The air inside the subway tunnel was thick with dust and tension. Every corner of Archon seemed alive with the rhythmic hum of alien machinery, punctuated by the occasional rumble of collapsing buildings above. Wyatt, Alara, Riley, and Marcus huddled around the flickering lantern, their faces illuminated in patches of light and shadow. Alara adjusted her glasses, her mind racing. The terraforming device is only one part of the problem. The mothership controls everything. It's the brain behind this invasion. Marcus's expression was grim. "You're suggesting we take out the mothership. Do you have any idea how we'd even get close to that thing?" "We hack their tech again," Wyatt interjected, though his voice was hesitant. "If we can use the terraforming spire as a relay, maybe we can send a virus to the mothership. Something to knock out their systems, or at least create enough chaos for us to take a shot." Alara nodded slowly. "It's possible, but we'll need a direct line to the spire, and someone will have to stay behind to transmit the signal. That person won't have time to escape." The group exchanged uneasy glances. Riley broke the silence. "Let's not jump to self-sacrifice just yet. There's got to be a way to get in and out alive. Not if they keep throwing those death machines at us," Wyatt muttered, glancing at Marcus. "What's the play, Sergeant?" Marcus rubbed his temples, his calm demeanor strained by the weight of the mission. "We'll need to split up. Riley and I can draw their fire, buy you time to upload your virus. Wyatt, Alara, you're the tech team. Get in, get it done, and get out." Wyatt paled. "I don't love the sound of that." "No one loves the sound of that," Riley shot back. "But unless you've got a better idea, we're out of options." Their plan required moving through the heart of Archon, now an alien stronghold. Streets that once bustled with life were silent except for the mechanical hum of alien patrols. The towering skyscrapers, stripped of glass and steel, resembled the bleached bones of some colossal beast. The group moved in two pairs, Marcus and Riley advanced first, their weapons drawn, while Wyatt and Alara followed with the equipment. Every step felt like navigating a minefield, the alien patrols unpredictable and relentless. The air crackled with energy, a constant reminder of the terraforming spire's growing power. As they approached a plaza near the spire, a deafening roar split the air. One of the massive alien walkers emerged, its four mechanical legs gouging the pavement with each step. It scanned the area, its glowing turrets swiveling in search of targets. Marcus signaled for the others to stop. Walker. 2 o'clock. Stay low. Wyatt pressed himself against the remnants of a wall, his heart pounding. I thought you said we'd distract them, he whispered. Not walk into a death trap. Plans change, Marcus replied flatly. He motioned to Riley, who nodded and began climbing the rubble toward a higher vantage point. Riley's voice crackled over their comms. I see a weak spot. The joint between the legs. Marcus, cover me. Before Marcus could respond, the walker let out a mechanical screech and fired a beam that obliterated a nearby car. The explosion sent shards of metal flying, forcing the group to scatter. Go! Marcus shouted. He opened fire, his bullets pinging off the walker's armored hull but drawing its attention away from the others. Riley took the opportunity to line up her shot, aiming for the exposed joint. She fired, and the walker stumbled, its leg collapsing with a metallic groan. That's one down, Riley said, sliding down the rubble to rejoin Marcus. Wyatt and Alara used the distraction to slip past the patrols and reach the base of the terraforming spire. The structure pulsed with energy, its glyphs glowing brighter than ever. Alara set down her equipment, her hands trembling as she began connecting wires and calibrating devices. Are you sure about this? Wyatt asked, his voice tight. No, Alara admitted. But if we don't try, there won't be anything left to save. As Alara worked, Wyatt kept watch, his nerves fraying with each passing second. The alien patrols seemed to sense their presence, drawing closer with every pulse of the spire. Any chance you could work faster? Wyatt asked, gripping a makeshift weapon, a crowbar, like it might actually save him. I'm going as fast as I can, Alara snapped. She tapped a series of keys on her laptop, her screen filled with alien code. This technology is like nothing I've ever seen. It's almost alive. Before Wyatt could respond, an alien drone buzzed overhead, its spotlight sweeping the area. Wyatt pulled Alara into the shadows just as the light passed over their equipment. The drone hovered for a moment before moving on. That was too close, Wyatt muttered. It's only going to get worse, Alara said. We need more time. Time isn't something we have. Marcus's voice cut in over the comms. The patrols are doubling back. You need to hurry. Wyatt glanced at the spire, its energy tendrils writhing like angry snakes. Yeah, no pressure. Alara connected the final cable and hit a key. The laptop screen filled with a progress bar, the virus beginning its upload to the alien network. The spire reacted immediately, its glyphs flickering and its tendrils thrashing violently. Upload started, Alara said. But it's going to take a few minutes. We don't have a few minutes, Marcus shouted. Gunfire echoed over the comms, followed by a sharp cry from Riley. Riley? Wyatt called, panic rising in his chest. I'm fine, Riley grunted. Just a graze. Keep working. As the virus spread through the spire's systems, the alien patrols became more erratic, their movements jerky and uncoordinated. One patrol collapsed entirely, its glowing eyes dimming as the virus took hold. It's working, Alara said, a flicker of hope in her voice. But the victory was short-lived. The spire let out a deafening roar, and a new beam of light shot down from the mothership, enveloping the spire in a protective barrier. The upload stalled, the progress bar frozen at 78%. They're countering the virus, Alara said, her voice shaking. We're running out of time. Wyatt clenched his fists, his mind racing. What if we overload the spire? Use its own energy to send a pulse back to the mothership? Alara hesitated. That could work, but we'd need to trigger the overload manually. Of course we would, Wyatt muttered. Why is it never the easy option? The team regrouped at the base of the spire, their faces grim. Marcus and Riley were battered but alive, their weapons nearly spent. We've got one shot at this, Marcus said. Alara, can you set the overload? She nodded, though her hands were shaking. I can, but once it starts, there's no stopping it. We'll have about 30 seconds to get clear. 30 seconds? Wyatt said, his voice rising. That's not a plan, that's a death wish. Got a better idea? Riley asked, raising an eyebrow. Wyatt opened his mouth, then closed it again. Fine. Let's do this. Alara connected a final wire and activated the overload sequence. The spire began to tremble, its glyphs glowing brighter and brighter as its energy spiraled out of control. Run! Alara shouted. The team sprinted away from the spire as it emitted a blinding flash of light. The energy pulse shot upward, striking the mothership with a deafening crack. The ship shuddered, its sleek surface splintering as explosions rippled across its hull. For a moment, it seemed like the plan had worked. But as the team reached the safety of the subway tunnels, they realized the battle was far from over. The mothership, though damaged, remained in the sky, its engines roaring with renewed fury. Wyatt slumped against the wall, his chest heaving. So, Plan C? Alara wiped the sweat from her brow, her expression steely. We take the fight to them. The other stared at her, the enormity of her words sinking in. The confrontation with the mothership was inevitable, and it would be their most dangerous mission yet.